Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, let's thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has given us mercy and blessing so we can gather together here without any trouble and obstacle. Secondly, may salawat and salam always be with our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam who has brought us from the darkness to the likeness. From the Jahiliyah era to the Great era. And my special thanks I deliver to my lecturer that has given us the time to explain our understanding about the material, Sir Dr. Kaharuddin SIP Mham, and also don't forget my family and my friends whom I love. So let me introduce myself. My name is Andi Wahba Zuhaili and I'm from PBIB, and now I'm in the 5th semester at UIN Alauddin Makassar. In this video, I will explain about curriculum and instructional development, which include 3 topics. The first, preliminary phase, and 2 development phase, and 3 review phase. In this video, I also explain more about 3 phases before, then explain one by one from the first phase, which is preliminary phase, until the last phase, which is review phase. So to shorten the time, let's begin the explanation. Here we go. In curriculum and instructional development, the first phase is preliminary phase. In this phase, I will explain 3 points. Making decision on need analysis. At this stage, we are required to think about basic decisions before the needs analysis is carried out. What to decide? First, we must determine who is involved in the need analysis. Then we have to decide 2 things. We determine which categories of people we can involve in our needs analysis. We can find out the categories of people we can involve based on Brown's theory of the 4 categories of people we involve in need analysis. And the first, target group, or anyone like teacher, administrator. And number 2, audience. Who do you think will be doing the result of this need analysis? And 3, people who do need analysis. And the 4, research group, or people who are search of information for us to get information about the target group. We determine the number of people and we involve in our need analysis. How to determine the number? There are 2. 1, first, population availability, whether the people we categorize exist. And number 2, determine the sampling technique, wherever we use a total sampling technique or random sampling. Number 2, what information should we collect? There are 4 divergent philosophies that exist in the need analysis that affect the type of information we will collect. There are 4. A, discrepancy philosophy. B, democratic philosophy. And C, analytic philosophy. And D, diagnostic philosophy. The selection of philosophy will certainly affect the type of information gathered in the need analysis. The tendency is the listing of needs may grow to a marketable proportion that make the curriculum designer need to decide which point of view will be taken. Then the needs analysis needs to sort all the information and narrow the scope of their investigation. Number 3, how can we get information, or what instrument do we use to get the information? Uh, in the session, the need analysis can use by 3 basic dichotomies of need proposed by Brown. And first, situation needs versus language needs. Situation needs refer to any administrative, financial, logistical, pedagogic, cultural, personal, or other factor that may give an impact on the program. Language needs refer to language competence of a student, reasons for studying English, their current abilities. Number 2, objective needs versus subjective needs. Objective needs are the needs identified from observative data about the situation, the learners, the language that the student finally acquire. Subjective needs refer to one's desire and expectation. Number 3, linguistic content versus learning process. Linguistic content refers to the type of language that the student need to learn, spell it out in linguistic terms such as phoneme, morpheme, grammatical structure, utterance, function, notion, the source makers. Gathering the information in need analysis. In this point, there are 3 points that I will explain. First, how to distribute the questionnaire. The data gathered from the introductory questionnaire question are used for showing the participant situation, exemplification, name, gender, age, and class, and perception on the importance of things that we will analyze as like English skills or other that availability in the place that we do the research. It's like junior high school or senior high school and other. In addition, both type of information, linguistics needs and learning needs, are analyzed into 3 categories, and the frequency scores of linguistic needs and learning needs are verified by giving each category scores from 1 to 4, or as indicate as importance level that include not as that include also proficiency level that includes poor, fair, good, and excellence, and the last is frequency level that includes or hardly, never, seldom, often, and always. Number 2, data presentation that represent the information analysis. To calculate frequency, the number of respondent is multiplied with its scores and then divided by the number of respondents in all categories. To clarify the data presentation, some data were analyzed by using diagrams to see the distribution of the level, frequency, and level of importance using language skill. The overall data or then analysis to recognize the need inventory of the target group in language learning, which then used as the basic for formulating same aims and objectives of learning and designing speaking course one syllabus. Number 3, using the information in need analysis. A. Reviewing needs inventory from the linguistic needs. Identifying linguistic needs carried out by analyzing the students' learning ability and learning priorities. The result of analysis are used the prioritizing the component and selecting appropriate teaching materials which are required to design the syllabus. Reviewing needs inventory from learning needs. The student learning needs in the study were identified by attitudes. The students' learning problems were described based on the analysis of the respondents' perception, the student and the lecturer and the graduate. On the obstacle to the in the subject learning, such as to be able to speak effectively in one subject. While to explain the student attitude, the writer analyzes the student learning preference and learning style based on respondents' perception. Since the two factors were believed able to affect to the student attitude in learning. B. Formulating goal and objective. Richard 2001 suggests that I have four main purposes. One, to provide a reason for the program. Number two, to provide guidelines for teacher and learners. And number three, to provide focus for learning. And number four, to describe important realizable change in learning. Richards 2001 also described that statement objective process possess the following characteristic. There are three. Number one, objective describe a learning costume. Number two, objective should be consistent with the curriculum aim. And three, objective should be precise and feasible. Number two, development phase. This is the second session that I will explain in this video. The first thing that I will explain is about selecting and organizing course content. In this session or in selecting course content, we select the major topics and determining the order of the topics. In determining the major topic in the content syllabus that will be presented in class, the thing that can be done is to do a need analysis or consult with the teacher concerned. According to Richard 2001, that when conducting a need analysis, the information obtained is very helpful in the development of ideas in determining determining the major topics, determining and the major topics. When you have found the main topic, the next thing to do is review the main topics, or it's or in other word, to select the major topic is topic derived from the needs inventory, or discovering the initial list of the topics. And to determine the order of the topic are consultation with teachers, or review or refine the initial list to determine the criteria for sequencing the course content. After all, the other thing is selecting and organizing course content is planning the course structure or design syllabus. As we know that design is relation of the inventory of needs analysis into actual production, example Gracia, syllabus, lesson plans, and prototypes of the teaching materials. And the size of syllabus is carried out. Design of syllabus is carried out by selecting the syllabus framework and developing the syllabus or distribution of the contents of the course. In selecting the syllabus, in selecting the syllabus, in the selecting syllabus framework, the design use integrate or mixed syllabus framework. There are topical or content-based syllabus that organize around themes or topic, and structural syllabus that organize around grammatical items, and then competency-based syllabus that organizes based on specification of competency expected to master. This all is determined to satisfy the linguistic needs and the learning needs of the students. After that, in developing this syllabus, we distribute the course content, like number of season or week, theme, units, topics, activities, grammar items, and competencies. Then the second thing that I will explain in this phase is developing the teaching materials. There are three procedures in developing the teacher's materials. The first is mapping out the course items in the form of section or instructional blocks. Unit consists of several lessons. The representation of the instructional based on block in the lesson plans. The second is making prototype of teaching materials uh, based on the lesson plans, and the third is getting expert of ELT to review the prototype. In making the lesson plan, pay attention to the 2 points. Those are use the syllabus as a guideline to write the lesson plans or make the course general description, and then decide the details of the lessons plan by referring to certain theory of lesson plan. Example Gracia and Brown 2001. Allahu Akbar. 2001 goals, objectives, material and equipments, and procedures, evaluation, and then extra classwork. In making the prototype of teaching materials, pay attention also to things. Make sure that the prototypes are developing based on the needs inventory, which have been transformed into the syllabus and the lesson plans, and then decide the organizational structure of the prototypes. Then the last thing that I will explain in the first in reviewing and validating the teaching materials, it was carried out by giving giving an instrument employed to review the elements of the teaching materials, example Gracia, contents, language components, activities, as well the supplementary materials. Content, there are four. The first, the diversity of topics, and then the relevance of the topic to the level and needs, and then the contribution of topic to the development of language skills, and then the authenticity of the material in the topics. And then language components, there are three. First, the conformity between the language components and the student levels of language proficiency, and then the relevance of the language component to the student needs, and then the difficult or the easiness level of the language component, and then activities activities. First, the activities of activities, and then the aim of the activities, and then the relationship of the activities with real world use of language, and then the forms of the activities, and then the language focus on the activities, and then the encouragement of the activities to language creativity, and then the clarity and consistency of the activist instruction, and less supplementary materials. There are three. First, instruments or media for learning a certain language component. And then the availability of hands-out. And then the availability of authentic materials. Example, Gracia photos. And number three, review phase. As we know that review is the process of describing to the outcomes of trying out the develop course content. Example, Gracia, syllabus, lesson plans, and teaching materials. This process should be carried out in two types. First, implementing the instructional materials in the classroom, and then evaluating to the outcomes of learning. In implementary the instructional materials in the classroom, we must know about first selecting instructional materials. It can be done by the topic of the instructional material are randomly selected amongst the 11 topics of the developing teaching materials, and then the number of topic of instructional material is selected based on the decision of tryout time allotment. And then number two, deciding procedures. Each instructional material is implemented in two general procedures, or teaching and evaluating, with special time allotment and procedures for it. Session 1, teaching, or opening, explaining, and training. Activities lesson A and lesson B, 16 minutes, which is lesson about skills getting, 14 minutes, and lesson B about skill using. There is 20 minutes. Session 2, evaluating. Activity lesson C, review, 13 minutes, which is language game, 20 minutes, and grammar presentation, 10 minutes, and then extra classwork. Number 3, time allotment. There are two types of it. First, general time allotment refers to the number of sessions required to try out the prototype of the instructional materials. One instructional material is for the session, and then special time allotment refers to the numbers of minutes required for teaching the instructional material for each session, or one session lasts for 19 minutes. After knowing the implementing of instructional material, let's move to evaluating to outcomes of learning. In this evaluation phase, summative evaluating is used for evaluating the effect of the teaching of the course content to the targeted groups as the result of the implementing the syllabus design and the instructional materials. Summating, evaluating, summative evaluations refers to the checking of what have been learned at the specific point in this in time, is like in at the end of unit. Of course, the first level in evaluating in reaction that conducted by assessing 15 students reaction or attitudes after learning teaching materials. The second level is learning. This also measure what the student have learned from the presented materials by comparing the performance before and other received the instruction. And to know the summative evaluation from students, we can use the pre-test and then the post-test that can used by the following procedures. There are five. There are five. First, the interviewers prepare a series question on 3 topics, and then the students are then interviewed in pairs of or even 3 to put them more at ease and relaxed atmosphere to have the presence of friend or classmate. Then the interviewer then led into the interview by first of all asking yes, no question, following at some stage or other by certain a question. We have question, and then the student are required to reply this question in natural speech situation. And then the student speech is then score the rating scale sheets. The conclusion. As the conclusion in my video, there are 3 parts or on curriculum and instructional development, and in each phase there are things that we must pay attention. The first is preliminary phase, and that tell us about making decision of need analysis, gathering information in need analysis, and also using the information in need analysis. Then the second phase is the development phase that tell us how to selecting and organizing course content, how to developing teaching materials, and also reviewing and also reviewing and validating in the teaching materials. And the last but not least is the review phase that tell us about teaching instructional materials, evaluating learning outcomes, and also summative evaluation. Those are the things that very important for us as the future teacher. So maybe that's all from me and also my video. Don't forget, I want to thanks to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala that gave us healthy until now and blessed me so I can complete it this final project. And don't forget also my beloved family that become my best support system, which always support me in every condition, and whom I love once. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and I do apologize if there are many mistakes in my video, and I hope my video can be benefit for us. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.